Hello again. I am fascinated at the speed with which politicians, police officers and journalists are able to decide upon the motivations of protesters on the streets, whether of Dublin or London. If there is the least connection with Islam or immigration, then of course such people must surely be far right. I was intrigued to see that the head of police in Dublin talked of far right ideology, almost as though he'd been following the same script as that used in Britain at the time of the protests around the cenotaph on Armistice Day. Actually, he was following the same script. The thumbnail to this video shows part of a training programme from the British Prevent programme, which is designed to detect potential terrorists. It was sent to me by a Sikh guy who was worried about the description of extreme right-wing terrorist ideology. Those wishing to see the original of this screen can take the training course for themselves. I give a link in the description to this video. Just click on it and you can see what the British government thinks terrorism is all about. Before looking at what is officially described as a terrorist ideology, we might pause and consider what a terrorist ideology actually is. In the summer of 1972, I was in Belfast. The no-go areas had been cleared out a little earlier during Operation Motorman, and the provisional IRA was very, very tetchy about it. I cannot tell you how many bombs were going off and the number of shootings that August. It was literally every day. Walk through the city centre and you would hear a boom. The Ferodo factory or car sales room had been blown up. A little later there was a crack of a rifle shot. It was the most violent year of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. However, it made no difference at all to the situation, and Britain showed no signs of relinquishing the 6 counties which made up the province. Instead, they simply sent more troops. So it was that the provisionals devised a new strategy. They decided that 1 bomb in London was worth 10 in Belfast or Londonderry. So it was that year later, about a year later, autumn of 73, they began a bombing campaign in London. The aim was to terrorise ordinary people in the British capital and cause them to think that hanging on to those 6 counties of Northern Ireland was more trouble than it was worth. Perhaps they would then pressure their government into abandoning Northern Ireland and letting it become part of the Irish Free State, the Republic. This is a terrorist ideology, to decide where force should be applied and why. Choosing to bomb London was part of a coherent ideology designed to achieve a specific aim. Now look, if you will, at what the British government thinks that a terrorist ideology is. Look at that screen in the thumbnail to this video, and you will see that cultural nationalism is listed as an extreme right-wing terrorist ideology. What is cultural nationalism, you ask? We are told that it is the idea that, and I quote, Western culture is under threat from mass migration and a lack of integration by certain ethnic and cultural groups. That is, of course, not a terrorist ideology at all. It is simply an idea. It may be a correct idea, or it may, on the other hand, be a foolish and misguided one. But an idea is all that it is. How anybody in his or her senses could possibly imagine that this is a terrorist ideology is an absolute mystery to me. This then is the very theory which the Commissioner of the Guards in Dublin had in mind when he spoke of far-right ideology. What he meant was that some people had a certain idea about modern society. Many people, of course, do believe that Western culture is under threat from mass migration, but that doesn't mean that they subscribe to a terrorist ideology, and nor does it mean that they belong to the extreme right wing. It means no more than they have an idea which they believe to be correct. I shall be making another video on this topic soon because this throws light on what many supposedly liberal and progressive people in Western Europe are now taking as being axiomatic, which is that any opposition to or even questioning of immigration is symptomatic of somebody who has fallen prey to an extreme right-wing terrorist ideology. At the very least, we need to start by defining just what we mean by a terrorist ideology, because until we do that, it is hopeless to try and discuss the matter rationally. In the meantime, do click on the link I give. You will have to say that you're a charity or something before they let you take the training, but I fancy this material might open people's eyes a little. This is precisely the hymn book from which the police in Dublin were all singing last night.